Check, check, check. Check your mic, Dylan. Check, check. Well, hey. How's it going?
Howdy.
Good to have you guys. Thanks for joining us for this live stream review. We're about to dive into 5 church live streams from around the world. I'm excited about that. I love how we always get a great variety of all the different things going out there in the body of Christ. It's awesome. If you also have some tips as we go along, drop them in the comments. We're all here to help each other. So let's be constructive and help each other out. And also let us know where you're tuning in from. Drop that in the comments as well. We review live streams twice each month. And if you want us to review yours, you need to join our inner circle using the link in the description. So Collaborate Worship Inner Circle is where you get the ongoing support that you need to thrive in audio visual. And subscriber benefits include a lot of things. I'll list off a few for you. And one is you get your questions answered in our exclusive Slack workspace. And if you're not sure what Slack is, it's just kind of like a chat platform where we can all get in there and all the conversations are organized. You get your questions answered by me, by Dylan, by our team, and also from other Inner Circle subscribers. So it's really great what's happening there. That's one of your Inner Circle benefits. You also get access to monthly live Q&As with AV experts. We've already had one with James Wasson. We talked about EQ. And the cool thing is whenever you join Inner Circle, you get access to the previous Q&As too, that you can go watch those on demand. But the next one that's coming up is with Jake Goslin from Churchfront. And then I even have Ryland Russell nailed down for May. And I don't know if you guys saw what Ryland did at his Easter service. Did you see that video yet?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
He just posted a video today about his Easter service, and what he did this just a few days ago was incredible. You should go watch that. If you don't know who Ryland is, just YouTube Ryland Russell and go find that guy, because he's really awesome. He's also a neighbor of ours. We're both in the same city, Owasso, Oklahoma. You also get exclusive content, which includes Mix With Me sessions, and that's with me, and you get to watch me create a mix from the ground up using live tracks. I use tracks from our church, and I also use tracks from our Inner Circle subscribers if they want to submit those. So, yeah, a lot of great benefits. There's even more to it, but you can get all that and more for just $12 per month by subscribing to Inner Circle. We put a link in the description where you can take care of that after we're through reviewing live streams. So now let's review these live streams. You ready?
I didn't even think about how we get to review Easter services today. That's kind of fun.
I think some of them are Easter services and some are like before Easter, but okay. Yeah. All right, so this first one is from Aaron Burke, and he is with Restoration Life Church in Sacramento, California. We asked him what issues he was having, and he said that our stream is low budget. Cameras are 1080p camcorders. Black levels are not so good. Much of our video system was donated. Hey, well, that's cool, right? At least you got some gear. Our cameras are located in the back of the room, which is about 45 feet from the stage. He didn't have any specific questions. She just said any and all comments are welcome. He's using an Allen and Heath QU32 mixer. So let's just take a listen to this, and we'll go from there.
Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing is better than you. Sing verse 2. Oh, I'm not afraid.
All right, awesome. Thanks for sending that in. It took me a minute to figure out what was going on. I'm looking at these drums, and it's like, because I'm hearing like electronic type of drums, but I see mics over the cymbals, and I realize there's not a drummer back there. So they must be using some backing tracks along with the acoustic guitar and vocal. There's nothing wrong with that. There's services where we have to do that as well. Maybe your musicians are on vacation or whatever the case may be. You got to love backing tracks for that. So a few things that could make this better. Considering you're combining this with backing tracks, here's the challenge. Backing tracks are mastered to perfection. So you're getting like these perfectly EQ'd, compressed sounds, and then you're trying to mix them with your live vocals, and then in this case, your acoustic guitar. And if you're not careful, you can hear the major difference between the two. So one thing I was noticing is like the kick drum and the bass guitar, they sounded really clean and really full. But then it made the vocal and the acoustic guitar sound a bit lacking because the quality difference was so vast. So you want to bring the quality closer together. And here, I'm going to give you 2 tips on how to do that. The first one, I'm going to talk about the lead vocal. It sounded like you had the compression great on her, and you had a great start with her vocal. There was just this, in the low mid-frequency range, if we make a cut there, you're going to make her sound a lot cleaner, and it'll blend better with the backing tracks. I'm thinking it's probably somewhere between 500 and 800 hertz, where you could use a PEQ filter, set the Q value to around 3, and you could probably cut about 6 dB there to really clean it up. Just kind of sweep through that 400, 800 hertz range. You may boost it first so you can listen and see, what's the most unpleasant sound in her vocal, and then cut it out using that filter. You may also want to use a low shelving filter on her to clean up her vocal a little bit more. You can set a low shelving filter at about 800 hertz and then drop that 2 to 3 dB. Just make sure she doesn't sound too thin, but use that filter to bring clarity to her vocal because it was just a little bit too mid-heavy. When you do that, you're going to notice a big difference in the quality of her vocal. It'll match those backing tracks a lot better. And the other thing is the acoustic guitar. And this is something that we comment a lot on these live stream reviews, which shows me that it's an issue that a lot of churches are struggling with. How do you get your acoustic guitar to actually sound good? And we have that problem at our church too, depending on which acoustic guitar is playing. Dylan plays acoustic guitar sometimes. We also have another acoustic guitar player. They each have their own acoustic guitars that have different pickups and all that kind of stuff. But what we found is that acoustic guitars, the stock pickup that's in them, it just doesn't sound good. Even if you buy like an expensive Taylor guitar, you would expect that to sound good out of the box, but because you have a pretty pricey Taylor guitar, don't you?
It's a pretty mid-range one.
Mid-range?
But they all have the same pickup system in them. So
even the most expensive Taylor guitar has the same pickup. Why are they doing that? Maybe we should reach out to Taylor and be like, come on, save us some grief here and just let us start with a good pickup in the guitar. But that's the best way to solve an acoustic guitar is to change the pickup. Dylan did that, and it made just a huge the difference is incredible. It's rare that I tell you to go buy new gear to solve a problem, but in this case, man, the difference is just incredible. And I think that pickup is called the LR Bags.
LR Bags Anthem.
So yeah, I'll go get that pickup, and you're probably gonna have to go get it installed by somebody, right? So what's the name of the type of person that installs?
luthier.
A luthier.
Yeah.
Spell that.
Luthier.
Do you think every town has one of those? I mean,
Most likely. They're pretty common, unless you're just in a really small town.
maybe go to like Guitar Center or something like that and ask them. Will they know somebody you think that could do that?
Yeah. Guitar Center usually has a luthier in shop too. So
Yeah, so go do that, and it's going to cost you, the pickup I think is around $300 or so, and then how much did it cost to get it installed?
$100, I think.
$100. So you're talking about a $400 or $500 investment, and it's worth it. If you can't do that right now, you can use some EQ to make it sound better. We like to do what's called make it a glorified shaker, to where you pretty much take out all the lows, all the mids, and all you're left with is the high frequencies on the acoustic guitar. And what that makes it is more of a rhythmic instrument. Like I said, a glorified shaker. It's like a shaker that changes notes. But if you have a full band, it sounds great that way. Even on a great sounding guitar, we'll thin it out some so that it's not taking up that low frequency spectrum. And the electric guitar, the piano guitar, or the piano and the bass guitar can all occupy that space while the acoustic stays up here. So yeah, that's sound. Dylan, what do you think about visuals?
I don't really have anything to say. I think they look good. I noticed it being a little bit grainy, but it's really not even that bad. I could tell it's just a limitation of lighting that you're working with in the kind of camera you have. What kind of camera did you say you had? Was that in the notes?
That's what he said. He had donated gear, just a 1080p camcorder.
Hey, it's looking good then. I just noticed that wide shot one time, his head was cut off, but then it looks like they fixed it. So good job there. I was going to say something about that, then I noticed it was fixed. I like the lyrics there at the bottom and how you use the letter boxing, the black bars at the top and bottom. Your exposure looks good. Skin tones look good. I dig it.
So I'm thinking that the graininess is probably just their camera. They said, they commented they kind of have a cheap camera, so they don't have good low light performance, right? And that's what causes that issue.
Yeah. But it looks good for being a cheap camera, to be honest. I'm pretty impressed.
Sweet. All right. Well, why don't you take a look at the comments while I get the next one loaded up here?
Take a look. Someone said, I recommend adding a confidence monitor for your vocalist if you don't already have one. Eliminating music stands will help visually and allow your worship leaders to engage the audience more. Yeah, that's a good point. I did notice that lyric she missed, and man, that happens to all of us. We have a confidence monitor, and I still miss them sometimes. I just get too in the moment. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's something I can look at to get the lyrics from. But that definitely helps a lot. Cade's wife, Beth, who also sings on our team, she still likes to have a music stand for some reason, even though I've told her to get rid of it multiple times. We just let her keep using it. But it definitely does clean up the stage quite a bit if you can get rid of music stands and get rid of mic stands, have them hold the mics. Just like get rid of barriers in between you and your congregation and things that are holding you back from, engaging with them. So, yeah, that's a good point.
And here's a note on music stands. If you're going to use them, say like this is the stage. Some people will put their music stand on this side, and so then they're looking away from the people that they're serving, right? And that's always awkward if your music stand is facing away from people. So if you're going to have one, just make sure you position it in a place where when you're looking at it, you're still facing those who you are leading. Just a little side note there. All right, ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, I was going to say, or just be awesome and memorize everything. That's kind of hard to do sometimes.
All right, this next one is from David, and he's from Royal Assembly Church. So let's take a listen.
In an encounter with you, say no one beats you, no one beats you, and remains the same. Burdens are lifted, in an encounter with you. Nobody beats you, no one beats you, and remains the same. Burdens are lifted, in an encounter. Say it one more time. No one beats you, no one beats you. Cannot remain the same. One last time, say nobody beats you, no one beats you, and remains the same. Burdens are lifted, in an encounter when you say, oh, 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 you are dependable, you are dependable, you are dependable, you give my life meaning, you are dependable. Say you are dependable, you are dependable, you are dependable, you are dependable. Say you are dependable, you give my life, Daddy, you are reliable, you are reliable, you are reliable, you give my life meaning, Daddy, you are dependable, I can rely. You are dependable. You give my life meaning. You are dependable. Say you are reliable. So reliable. You are reliable. You give my life meaning. One more time. You are reliable. You are reliable.
All right.
Love the energy in that.
That was awesome. I know. I was so into it, I almost forgot to listen for some things that can make it better.
Made me want to be there.
I know. We should go sometime. Man,
Yeah.
that was fun.
Where'd they say they were from?
It didn't say where they were from, actually. Let's see if I can find it on their YouTube channel here in a minute. But they could teach us all something about stage energy, right? I know this is for our sound and audio guys are the ones that are on here, but if there's any worship leaders who are watching or musicians, I mean, go back to this stream because they're leading the people well. I love it. They're doing a great job. And I also want to comment on the lead vocal. They had her mixed so well. The compression was spot on. The EQ was spot on. You'll notice that it was nice and clean, but it was still warm. I think they had that EQ just perfect on the lead vocal. So great job on that. And the lead vocal is the most important part of your mix. So yeah, my hat's off to you on that. Now, some things that can make it better is I think you could take some of how you're EQing the lead vocal and apply some of that technique that you're using there on the background vocals as well, because they were kind of occupying some space that's a little bit irritating to hear from a vocal. They're a little bit too heavy in those upper mids. Cleaning them up would really clean up your mix. I was noticing that like the whole bottom area of your mix, let's say like 800 hertz and down, was just kind of messy. It was just kind of all jumbled together, and I was trying to figure out what was causing that, and I couldn't really pinpoint it. So you're going to have to go and do some like trial and error type of stuff to figure out what's causing it. Is it your reverb? Maybe if you take out the reverb and see how much it cleans it up. Sometimes the reverb is just replicating too much in that 400, 800 hertz range, and it's causing the whole mix to sound muddy. Or maybe it was just one of your electric guitars that needs to adjust their tone, or maybe you need to EQ them a little bit differently to clean them up. I just wasn't getting any clarity out of those lower frequencies. So I would go through and just, if I was there mixing with you on a Sunday, I would pull all the vocals out and just listen to the instrumental mix and then start making some changes to make it sound cleaner. So yeah, I wish I could tell you exactly what needs to happen there, but it's just hard to tell without being there. I'd love for you to go experiment and then get back to me if you can, and we can figure that out together.
Someone else said they wanted to visit that church too.
Yeah.
Also, Mom's on here, and she said she remembers a certain worship leader that made her memorize everything when she was on the team.
I wonder who that was. I led worship for 10 years, and I was a pretty ruthless worship leader. If somebody showed up and they hadn't practiced, I think this might happen to Dylan too, I'd tell them to sit down. You're not playing this Sunday because you didn't come prepared.
Yeah, I think when I was like 13, I played bass guitar on the team, and he told me one week I couldn't play because I sucked so bad.
Ruthless.
Ruthless.
To my 13-year-old brother.
I probably deserved it. I probably didn't practice. All right, let's talk about visuals. First off, really great camera angles. The framing is awesome. I love the depth of field you have on some of them. I love the timing of when you change them. The lighting is cool with the way you mix the colored lighting in with the front lighting. The only thing I would say that would take it up another notch is try to match your exposure and white balance from camera to camera a little bit better. You can see in that main shot of the lead vocalist, she's a little bit brighter and a little bit greener, I think. And then there, I noticed a shot that was a little bit too magenta. So if you can fine tune each of those cameras to get them looking closer together, it's going to like take it up another notch, and it's probably be a 10 out of 10. Like, I'm pretty impressed. Everything looks really good. What do you think?
I agree. I love it.
Great job, guys.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got on here?
Can we just listen to that one some more? Go ahead and look at the comments while I get the next one loaded up.
Someone was saying something about a bass a second ago. Something about how, let me see if I can find it. I play bass by tuning a right-handed upside down to play. Turning a right-handed upside down to play. I recently bought a left-handed bass and restrung it for a right-handed so I can have my knobs in connection in the right place.
Wow.
I'm kind of confused by that. I'm like trying to piece that together.
So I guess you just reverse the order of the strings.
Yeah, and then he said, do you recommend changing pickups around? I bet that'd probably throw your sound off if your bass has two different pickups, one for the high end and one for the low end. That might kind of throw off the way it sounds. I mean, if it sounds fine, though, don't worry about it. But if it sounded kind of funky, you might want to switch them around.
This is the first I've heard of anybody doing that, so I don't know how it affects the sound.
Clarify for me, why did you switch to the other hand? Is it because you're left-handed, but you don't like the way things are arranged on a left-handed bass? I'm confused.
So they make a left-handed bass?
Yeah, they usually make a left-handed any kind of guitar.
Huh.
So you would be playing chords with your right hand and strumming with your left, or you know.
Are those hard to find?
There's a lot less options for those. I think you can get my guitar in a left-handed though.
That's a good question though. If anybody knows that's tuned in right now, drop that in the comments. Give us some wisdom there.
That hurts my brain to think about playing the opposite way. I can't imagine for a left-handed person what it must feel like to play a right-handed guitar, because that's what there is out there mostly.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, who we got next?
All right, so up next, Steve submitted this one. This is the Union Church, and they are out of Dallas. So here we go.
Jesus, I won't forget. Never, never. You said the rest like me. Get me victory. I won't forget. cannot forget. Sing.
I cannot forget
What you done?
what you done for me.
I won't.
I won't forget. You got up
You got up on that cross.
You got up on that cross and you died for me.
I won't.
I won't forget.
You said.
You set me free.
That's all I'm saying. Come on, put your hands together. Said I won't forget.
I won't forget.
Won't forget.
I won't forget.
I won't forget.
I won't forget.
Said I won't forget.
I won't forget.
Said I won't forget.
I won't forget.
Won't forget.
I won't forget.
All right, thanks for sending that in. That's a lot of vocals to mix. Man, I've never got the opportunity to mix that many vocals at a time. That'd be a fun and challenging thing to do. All right, so let's talk about how to make this better. The first thing that I noticed is that I wasn't getting a lot of direct sound for the instruments. It almost sounded like all I was hearing was what was maybe being picked up through ambient mics or maybe those choir mics that are hanging there. It just sounded like the band was off in the distance over here and then the vocals were out front. So I would add some more direct sound from your instruments into the stream, like quite a bit more sound. So do that, and that's going to add a lot more depth to your sound. And then I was also noticing that your vocals sounded a little sharp. Not necessarily the lead vocal, the guy, he didn't sound as sharp as the others, but I would go through on those vocals and look at how you're EQing them. This is kind of the opposite problem of what we've been talking about so far, where the vocals sounded a little too muddy in those low mids. In this case, I didn't really hear any warmth or lower register from these vocals, just kind of like that upper register. So I would go through, look at your EQ on those vocals, and if you're cutting a lot out of that, like say 800 hertz and down, let's bring some of that back. Maybe even level out your EQ and start fresh on all those vocals, and start with a low cut filter somewhere between, let's set it like 180 hertz, your low cut filter, and then take a peaking filter and find if there's something that's irritating in that 400 to 800 hertz range. And you're going to have to do this for each vocal. You boost that about 6 dB, you sweep through that range and find what's irritating, and you take it out about 6 dB. And if you do that on all your vocals, it's going to make them sound a lot more warm and a lot fuller. You also want to make sure that you're compressing the vocals well, because whenever you have that many vocals, it's really going to exaggerate if the compression is not right. There's a lot of dynamic range in a vocal. A vocal can really sing soft, or they can really belt it out, and you need to use compression to narrow that dynamic range, especially with this many vocals, because if you don't, then you're going to have this wide dynamic range across however many that is, 12 vocals, and it's just going to jump in and out of the mix. It's going to get loud, and then it's going to be too soft. So you want to apply some compression to those vocals, and what you want to do is you want to set the threshold on your compressor until you're compressing those vocals about 6 dB on average. On your compressor screen, depending on what mixer you're using, there should be a gain reduction meter that shows you how much compression is being applied. And so that's what you're watching as you're setting the threshold, and you set the threshold until that's hitting about 6 dB at the most. Because if you compress more than 6 dB, it's okay. If they sing out a loud moment, it pushes it down like 9 dB or 12 dB for a moment. But if it's always hitting that negative 9 dB and it's always going that much compression, your vocals are going to lose their life. But if you're not compressing 6 dB, then there's going to be too much dynamic range. I've just learned that negative 6 dB is about the sweet spot. It's not a hard and fast rule. You can adjust as needed. But go through and do the EQ on the vocals and do that compression, bring all those vocals together, and you're going to notice a big difference. And also, of course, the first thing I mentioned, make those instruments, add more direct sound from those instruments so that it really fills out the mix. All right, Dylan, what do you think about visuals?
As far as a one-shot shot goes, I think it looks good. Everything's nice and straight. You got it zoomed in as much as it can go. I like that you're filling up your stairs with the vocalist. They don't look too close together or far away. Oh, we got a zoom in going on there. Look at that. That's pretty nifty. A little shaky. I wonder if that's a camera on a tripod or if it's like what are those cameras called? The like automated ones.
PTZ?
Yeah, PTZ. I think it looks pretty good. I don't really notice anything that I would suggest otherwise.
I guess on this shot, they just zoomed in. They need to bring it down a little bit because her face is kind of like in the middle of the frame, and usually you want their face in the upper third of the frame. So just kind of like tilt that down a little bit.
If you're able to get all of those vocalists holding their mics so you can get those mic stands out of it, it'll make it look a little cleaner too.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what they would do with them when they're done. They'd have to find somewhere to put them. Maybe they could, I don't know how the cables are run, but if they could like carry them off away from behind that shot, that would help make it look a lot cleaner. But if you like your mic stands, that's fine too.
Cool. Thanks for sending this in. While I load up the next one, we got any questions?
Someone said about the bass thing, if it sounds normal, don't worry about it. That's what I was going to suggest. If it sounds good, just keep rolling with it. Please help with powered speakers. Should I turn them up to the full and go from there? Or should I set the desk first and then set the volume on the speakers after?
No, do not turn them up to full. I actually have a video on how to set levels on your amps or powered speakers. So if you go to the Collaborate Worship YouTube channel and search for that, you'll find it. It'll walk you through the whole process. What you want to do is make sure that you're sending a strong signal from your mixer, and then you go and you adjust the level on your powered speakers to achieve the volume that you want in the room. So, but more detailed than that is the video that I put together. So go search for that on the Collaborate Worship YouTube channel. It's how to set levels on amps or powered speakers.
Someone commented about the cross dissolves on that last stream, I think, saying they think that cross dissolves look a little outdated and they wish that churches would stop doing it. Something along those lines. I don't know. I think that every now and then they're fine. For my personal opinion, I think they can definitely be overused, but jump cuts probably for the majority of your cuts is best, I would say. So I'm halfway there with you.
I'm just waiting until they bring back the flame transition. That was the best.
Or the like PowerPoint transitions.
Yeah.
All those crazy ones. Good times. What an era. Someone also asked for suggestions for a good Wi-Fi provider in their city. No idea. I would check to see if you have Cox or AT&T available. Get wired internet if you can. If not, I guess you might have to go for satellite internet, or I guess you could do a mobile hotspot. I wouldn't recommend that, but if it's your last resort.
And maybe if you haven't heard of it, Elon Musk put out Starlink. It's not available everywhere, but I would look into it. Just Google Starlink and you'll find it. It's a satellite-based internet that's supposed to be more reliable than others because his satellites are supposedly closer to the Earth than the others that exist out there.
Are there other hardwired internet providers besides Cox and AT&T? I can't think of any.
Every city has its own.
Really?
Are they in our city?
Well, I don't know. I feel like Cox and AT&T would be everywhere because they're so...
Maybe they are.
I don't know. Just you can go to Cox and AT&T's website and put in your address, and it'll tell you if you have it available there or whatever else you have in your city. Cool. Ready for the next one?
Yep. This is from Kyle, and this is Chapel Hill Church.
Now I stand with the King of Kings. He has paid for my every sin, and from now through eternity, I am free. I am free. You, my God, have saved my soul, and I am yours forevermore. I won't be moved out this I'm sure. You, my God, you saved my soul. Sing what once was dead. What once was dead is now alive. You gave to me the breath of life. You brought me up out from the grave, and I'm bursting out with songs of praise. What once was dead is now alive. You gave to me the breath of life. You brought me up out from the grave. I'm bursting out with songs of praise. I'm bursting out with songs of praise. Oh, I'm bursting out with songs of praise. You, my God, have saved.
All right. Thanks for sending that in. The first thing that I noticed is that the bass guitar is the star of the show in this mix, which they shouldn't be the star of the show.
It kind of is in our mix sometimes too.
Yeah, and I get that because it's hard to mix the bass guitar in the live stream mix because, you mix it in the room. And if you're like us, you're also mixing the live stream in the room. And I have these headphones on and I'm cupping them over my ears to block out the sound that's in the room. But there's so much low energy going on. It's hard to tell really how much of the bass guitar is actually in the live stream. So often I will hear it after the fact. Whenever I go listen to it at home, you're like, wow, that was too much bass guitar. I should go turn that down. So you may have to do the same thing. So I definitely recommend bringing that bass guitar down quite a bit in the live stream because it was just overpowering everything else. Your lead vocal there, the guy, he sounded really good. I loved the way that he was mixed and compressed and EQ'd. He was nice and warm and nice and clear. I mean, other than the bass guitar fighting with him, if the bass guitar was brought down, I could just tell he would sound really good. And I also liked your choice of reverb that was on the vocal mic. It sounded really good and natural as well. As far as the other instruments go, I think the drums could be brought up. They were kind of off in the distance. So bass guitar down, drums up. And I'm gonna make the same comment on the acoustic guitar as the first stream that we listened to. I'm not going to recap all of that, but there's a lot of improvement that can be made there, and I would just recommend that you go get that new pickup on him to make that sound better. I could kind of hear the electric guitar. The other instruments were pretty distant, so we need to work on our instrumental mix so that they're there and you can hear them. But from what I could hear from the electric guitar, his tone sounded a little off. That's a nice uncomfortable conversation that you get to have with electric guitar players from time to time because they program in that tone at their house. They have their amp going or their headphones on. It sounds great when they're rocking out at home, and then they bring it and plug it into the sound system, and you're like, wow, that doesn't sound so hot. But you need to just open up those lines of communication and say, your guitar is just not sounding right out here. Maybe you could come out and listen. It's probably not sounding how you imagine that it sounds out here. So let's work on this and get it together. I'm actually thinking, this took me back to, we live in the same city area as Church on the Move. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they've just kind of been well known in the audio-visual space for many years. And we would go and we would listen and see, how they mix things and how they have rehearsals and things like that. And they have like a specified time each week, I think, with their lead guitar player, where the sound guy and the lead guitar, they get in the room and they work out his tones. And they spend several hours on that. Now, I know we all can't do that, but maybe at least do that once, where you guys meet on a Saturday, just the sound guy, the electric guitar, and let's figure out what good tone sounds like in this room. That way you can have an idea of what we need to do moving forward. That's just a suggestion I would make there. So that's what I have to say about sound. What do you think about visuals?
Visuals, the only thing I'm really noticing off the bat is that your lead vocalists there in the front middle are a little overexposed. So I would expose to them by dropping the exposure down just a tiny bit to where their foreheads aren't blown out. Maybe you could add a little bit of lighting to the people in the back too, either backlighting or front lighting. That's really all I'm seeing. It looks like a PTZ camera as well. I'm trying to watch, see if anything else pops up.
I'm still trying to figure out what these backgrounds are. It's like, is that a TV with?
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It might be good to put a light in the drum cage as well on your drummer. I know we've talked about that in a few past streams. You can get
No, just leave them in a cave.
Leave them in a cave. Little aperture MC lights. I keep on meaning to bring one of those out here to show people. Just little rectangular lights. Aperture, I think it's MC is the model number. But you can magnetize them. You can put them on a stand. You can really mount them all kinds of different ways. But that would help to light him up and even light people up in the back. I had a comment sound-wise, though, and it is in regards to musicianship with the band. I noticed that a lot of people are playing the same rhythm at the same time. Like everybody's playing eighth notes or 16th notes at the same time. And there's a lack of variety with rhythm in the sound. And then also, if they're not each hitting that exactly on point, you notice it pretty quickly that they're all out of sync. So I would work on just have people play some different rhythms throughout the song, and I think it would help you out a little bit. That might be the sound guy that submitted that, so he might not have any sway over how that goes, but recommend it to him if you can.
Well, a lot of musicians just don't even realize that they're all playing the same thing. Yeah. And somebody has to break off, and it's not natural, intuitive to do that. Mm-hmm. Somebody has to be aware that it needs to happen, but it can be any of the musicians. It could be the electric guitar that breaks off from this rhythmic thing going on down here and jumps off and plays some kind of pattern or repetitious thing up in the higher register.
Does some swells of some sort.
Right. Or it could be the keyboard player that does that. They jump up an octave on the keyboard and they start playing some kind of pattern up here. I mean, the musicians just need to learn how to feel each other, and each song is going to be different. In the situation that we're in right now, it's usually we have two electric guitar players, and one of them has figured it out. He knows that if everybody else is playing this rhythmic thing, he jumps off and he goes and does something up here. He just makes it up or whatever.
Or he'll make up a melody, a
Right.
sub melody, or
Yeah.
he's really good at those sub melodies. I'll go back and listen. I'm like, man, how do you even? He'll just do it in the moment too. Come up with stuff. I'm like, that goes really well with that actually.
Yeah, and I know not everybody has a musician of that caliber on their team, but you could just from the back say, hey, I've noticed that everybody's kind of playing in the same register. Is there anybody that can like break off into the upper register and do something a little different? Let's try that and see how it sounds.
Yeah, octaves are definitely important too.
Yep.
You can even use a capo with your acoustic if it's occupying too much frequency with the other guitars. Capo up to a different key. I know a lot of people think a capo is cheating, but it can be helpful in that way as well. Also, I was going to say with acoustic guitarists, we tend to just get in a rut of playing the same rhythms over and over again. And it usually works. You can just play a similar rhythm in every song with an acoustic guitar because, like I said, like Cade said, it's just a glorified shaker when you're playing with a full band. But you can really adjust what you're strumming and match it better with what everybody else is doing, and it makes a world of difference. Maybe just take out an up strum every now and then, or do all down strums for a certain part of the song. It adds dynamics that you wouldn't think it would. So experiment with that.
Cool. All right, we have one more left, but Dylan, why don't you look at the questions?
Do you guys have any videos for old school analog mixing table? Haven't managed to get the budget to switch to digital. We do get that question every now and then.
Yes, and we do not. And I'm sorry about that.
Some of the stuff we talk about does translate over a few of the things.
Few of the things. Analog mixing is just a lot simpler, especially if you don't have all the extra gear. But just to put this out there, you can do everything with an analog mixer that you do with a digital mixer. You're just going to have a lot more equipment on hand. So back in the day when there was no digital mixing and you wanted compressors, you would have to have a rack mount of compressors sitting next to the mixer where you dial in those settings. So maybe you have that. If you do, you can use the same training that we use for digital mixer on that equipment that you have.
This is kind of a loaded question, but give your briefest answer for this. Should I have acoustic panels to stop the echo?
Yes. If you have a budget sufficient enough to treat your room, then you should do that because it's going to save you a world of headache. But a good first step actually is to EQ your room, because whenever you EQ your room, what you're doing is you're pulling out certain frequencies that reverberate more in your room, that are more lively in your room, and you're bringing them down to the level of everything else. And simply EQing your room is going to cut that echo. It's not going to cut it out, but it's going to minimize the echo, the natural echo in your room. So start there because it's free. EQ your room. It's just going to take you some time. But I have a video for that. It's called How to EQ Your Room using the X32. And even if you're not using the X32, you can still use that video to EQ your room. It's going to make a big difference. But set aside at least 4 hours. You may even want to set aside a whole day to do this because you're going to do it once and it's not going to sound very good. And then you're going to do it again. It'll sound a little bit better. You're probably going to have to do this 3 or 4 times before you get it right. You have to build up that skill.
This question kind of goes along with the same thing, but he said, do you recommend main speakers be flat and adjust mics for best sound? So are you looking for a flat sound when you EQ the room?
Not necessarily flat. I mean, you don't want to get like crazy perfectionist with that. You're just like, you're pulling up the RTA, the real-time analyzer with your reference mic in the room, and you're looking for the ones that are significantly above the rest, and you're bringing those down.
Flattening it as much as you can,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah,
Getting those exaggerated frequencies down.
Exactly.
Got it. Cool. Let's move on to the next one.
All right, here we go. Last one is from, they didn't put their name in, but this is a Sanctuary Church in Orlando. So here we go. All right, thanks for sending that in. It's kind of hard to hear what the mix is going on there because we have a huge delay issue going on. And what I mean is like we're getting sound, and then like a half a second later we're getting some more sound of the same thing, and it's causing it to sound very strange. I was trying to figure out what was causing this, and it's hard to know unless I'm there. You just kind of have to start turning things off until you find the problem. And I would start by turning off any ambient mics that you're using. Just mute those in the stream and listen and see if that solves the problem and cleans it up. If that's the case, then you need to align your ambient mics with your mix that's coming in. So you either have to put delay on the main mix, or you have to put delay on the ambient mics to get it to line up. It's hard to know which one's behind the other. You're just going to have to figure that out. Now, it could also be reverb, because I was kind of noticing it more on the vocals than anything else. So I'm wondering if you have a reverb that you're using on your vocals that's just that the settings need to change. If you're using a delay or a decay time on your reverb that's a second or less, that could be causing the problem. So I would look at that too. But go through, mute your ambient mic, see if that's it. If that's not it, go through and mute your reverbs one at a time until you find the one that's making it sound out of line. And once you get that fixed, you'll have to resubmit your stream to us so that we can actually hear what's going on there, because it's kind of hard to hear anything else because your mind just gets consumed with this delay issue going on. And I know that's probably for your average listener. They probably get a little irritated with that, honestly. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to agree with the delay. That was the first thing I noticed sound-wise. With visuals, I think everything looks good. I'm just noticing skin tones look a little green. So I would push your white balance a little more magenta, get those skin tones looking a little closer to natural. I gave this recommendation in the last stream, but just, look at your camera feed, look at your skin, or somebody's skin that's on stage. Everybody's skin is a different color. That's what makes it tricky. But you can at least tell, like, how does the magenta in their skin look to my skin at the moment? But you also might want to, like, go stand in the light that they're in when you do it, because lighting will affect the way your skin looks. Lighting will cast different amounts of magenta and green as well. So it's a tricky thing to balance. It's a good time. But I think their shots look good. I like that the LED wall is not too bright in the camera shots, because I see that a lot of times. LED walls don't need to be as bright as the sun. I'm just going to put that out there. If your LED wall is as bright as the sun, please turn it down. Ryland a second ago asked what the best fried chicken in Owasso was.
Oh man, the jury's out. I love me some Chick-fil-A. I'm just going to keep it basic.
In terms of consistency, I'm going to say Cane's, because it's always hot and fresh. Ron's chicken's pretty good too. You ever get Ron's chicken?
Yeah, Ron's is pretty good. We got our video editor over here shaking his head that I said Chick-fil-A.
He's a Slim Chickens guy, I think. Yeah. He's nodding his head.
And I like me some Slim Chicken too.
Mom said there are too many chicken choices.
Yeah, I don't know why we got so much chicken around here, but I go out and eat it, so.
We hardly have any good sit-down restaurants. It's all chicken and burgers. Anybody else there?
Down in the South, that's what it's like.
Cool.
All right. I was just going to comment on their stage. Looks awesome. I love the LED screen, like all the visual aspects of their stage. It's really good.
Looks cool. It's a big old LED screen.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's cool, though. Somebody asked, do you recommend anybody in North Texas area to come help adjust our sound? We don't really know anybody that travels around and does that kind of stuff, do we?
No, we do not. We have plans to expand the Collaborate Worship team so we can start sending some guys off to do some in-person training. But in the meantime, one of your solutions could be to go through Church Sound Made Simple, which is my flagship course that walks you through how to create great sound in a simple manner. It even has an onboarding course where you could take somebody from complete newbie to confident behind the mixer in just 9 simple lessons. And then it goes beyond that to help you get your entire team mixing the same way. So I think you'll be impressed by the results of going through Church Sound Made Simple and applying what you learned there. And of course, we'll let everybody know whenever we have a team that can travel and do some in-person stuff.
We've gotten this question multiple times. How do I submit my stream?
To submit your stream, become a part of Inner Circle. And what Collaborate Worship Inner Circle is where you get the ongoing support that you need to thrive in audio visual. I mean, who doesn't need ongoing support, right? And what that means is you get these benefits. You get to get your questions answered on a day-to-day basis in our exclusive Slack workspace. If you're unfamiliar with Slack, it's kind of like a chat room sort of thing. So you get exclusive access to that. Not only will we answer your questions, but your question may get answered by another Inner Circle subscriber. You'll probably get your question answered within just a few hours, most likely. You also get access to our monthly live Q&As with AV experts. So we bring on guys like Jake Goslin from Churchfront and Rylan Russell, and we'll have James. We've already had James Wassam on, and some of the other guys as well. We also, Inner Circle subscribers also get exclusive content. You get Mix With Me sessions, which what that is every month I sit down and create a mix from the ground up, and we record that session, and you get to watch me EQ vocals and compress vocals with just raw tracks from a live service, and you'll also get extended YouTube content as well. All of that is a part of Inner Circle. That's how you submit your live stream. You subscribe to Inner Circle. It's just $12 a month, and there's a link in the description where you can do that. So go do it. Go do it now, because you'll get access to this stuff. Bam, immediately. You log in, and you're good to go.
I'm not seeing any more comments. I noticed someone was talking about Church on the Move and how they loved the Seeds conference. I missed that too. It was a good time.
Gosh, that's been years ago since they've had one of those.
Jonathan at the, what's his title? I'm blanking at Church on the Move.
The production manager, I think.
Yeah. He's telling me they might have something in the works. He didn't give me any details. He said he would when they had details to give.
Yeah, but that was even like whenever we did the tour, like months and months ago. We haven't heard anything.
No, it was after that.
Oh, okay. You've been talking
maybe
to
like a few months ago.
Yeah. Now, he did say, I don't think they're ever bringing the Seeds conference back.
Bummer.
Sad day, but maybe something better. We'll see. All right.
I think we covered
That's
everything.
a wrap, huh?
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys, for being with us. Really enjoy reviewing these live streams. I love seeing the variety that's out there. Love helping us make each other better. So, yeah, go join Inner Circle. We would love to have you as part of that. There's a link in the description. And with that, we're going to sign off here. We'll see you again in a couple weeks.
See ya.
See ya.